Hey everyone, and welcome to the Fish to Fortune Poker Channel. I'm your host, Fish, I guess. Maybe we'll come up with a different name for me later. I'm pretty new to the world of poker, but I already know that poker is a game that can be more than just a game. Poker really presents a great opportunity to master yourself and learn a ton about math and your own psychology along the way. Plus, you can make some money. Great. With online poker, it's a hobby that can be done in short spurts whenever you have time to do it, which is something I need because I have children and a full time job. I can't be sitting here playing 40 hours a week of poker. Not yet, anyway. I created this channel to document my poker journey and share my experiences. It's going to be centered on a challenge that I'm going to call Fish to Fortune, just like the channel name. Through this challenge, I'll be climbing the poker stakes, starting with just a $50 bankroll and working my way up. This is something I think a lot of poker players have done that you've seen on YouTube, places like that. They start with a small bankroll, work their way up. And so I'm going to do the same. Along the way, I'm going to explore cash games, which is probably going to be the focus of this channel, some tournaments, a variety of different poker sites, and I'll share my lessons learned, my wins, my losses, and most likely lots of losses, especially at the beginning. After all, I'm just starting in my poker journey. I'm not a poker pro who's returning to micro stakes online to see if he can still beat it. And I'm not a hobbyist who's been playing for years and knows a ton about the game already. To this point in my life, I have played less than 1,000 hands of poker. I don't know what most of the lingo or slang means, let alone the dozens of abbreviated terms for different player statistics. I really do expect to start playing this game like a fish. Alright, so what are the rules for this challenge? And what's my goal? The goal is to start at the lowest stakes in online no limit hold'em cash games and move up to high stakes. Well, what are the high stakes? Right now, I've been playing on Ignition, and the highest stakes for online no limit hold'em there are $10, $20 blinds. So my goal is to start at the bottom, 2 cent, 5 cent on Ignition, and get to the top, while maintaining a reasonable bankroll for each stake. But what's a reasonable bankroll? I expect that will change, but at the micro stakes, 1,000 big blinds seems reasonable to me. And that's where my $50 bankroll start comes from. Since I'm starting at 2 cent, 5 cent, when I get above 25, 50 cents, I'll probably up that requirement to 3,000 big blinds. And I will probably up that again to 6,000 sometime around $2.50 and $5 blinds. Maybe even earlier. In order to keep the challenge from lasting forever, though I do expect it to last for well over a year, I'll let myself move up to the next stake when I've achieved 75% of the required bankroll through my winnings from the previous stake. And if I drop below that amount, I have to devote myself again until I achieve it again. Another rule is that I will be limiting the amount of multi-tabling I can do. At the micro stakes, I will consider up to 4 tables only. Once I reach a big blind of $1, I'll be limiting myself to 2 simultaneous tables. This challenge is about getting good at poker, not necessarily about grinding out a tiny edge against the softest players at micro stakes. Personally, in the relatively few hands I've played, I much more enjoy being able to focus on just one game of poker at a time. But given the nature of the challenge, it will likely be prudent to multi-table at the smaller stakes just to increase my hand volume, as my time is limited, and nothing will make me a better poker player quite like playing more hands of poker, especially against better opponents. Rakeback and other bonuses are eligible to become part of the bankroll once they've been earned to help speed along the challenge, especially at micro and low stakes. However, they are not something I'm targeting at Ignition, which doesn't have great rakeback bonuses anyway. And if you don't know what rakeback is, don't worry, I'll tell you. If I do decide to start using sites with better rakeback bonuses, I will start tracking those and including them in my bankroll. Of course, success is not guaranteed. If I do fail and lose my bankroll, I am only allowed to buy in with 1,000 big blinds at the lowest stakes. Again, on Ignition, that's 2 cent, 5 cent blinds. As I progress through the challenge, I'll be focusing on providing 3 different kinds of content. As I progress through the challenge, I will be focusing on providing 3 different kinds of content. First and most common will be session recordings, where I talk through my thought process for each hand I play, perhaps editing through periods of being card dead. Second will be to create explainer content as I feel I master different levels and different skills needed to be good at poker. Think, what do all these abbreviations mean? How can I get better at bluffing? How should I size my bets? What are some study exercises I can do? And third will be periodic reviews of my own hand statistics, attempting to use my own data to learn where my leaks are, so maybe you can do the same. There's going to be a lot of learning for me to do to complete this challenge. I've done a little bit of learning about poker already and tried to pick out some skills and subjects I will need to learn about, so hopefully these are things I will be able to teach you about as we advance through the challenge. These are in no particular order, but the first one is definitely going to be first, and that's ABC poker. By which I mean, especially in the micro stakes, play tight, learn what the good hands are, in particular on different boards, since hand rankings are fairly simple. What are good hole cards, how to bet them, things like that, keeping it tight. Number 2 is going to be a stop loss. Learn how to take a loss without tilting, and how to stop my session early if I need to. This can definitely be a very difficult thing to master. Number 3, how to range opponents' hands, which I mean how to figure out what cards I think my opponent might have based on their behavior, how they change their bets pre-flop, flop, river, turn, how long they tank, some other signs that might be present, and how should that affect how I play my hand. Number 4 would be how to bet size appropriately. I need to think about what are my objectives for each bet that I make, and what do I think my opponent has? Will they fold? Will they call? Number 5 is identifying player archetypes and behaviors. Who am I playing against? Are they loose? Do they bet too much? Are they super tight? Do they only bet when they have something good? Are they willing to bluff? Can they be folded? And what does that mean about how they play specific hands and specific board textures? I need to learn how to bluff as number 6. When can I bluff? When should I bluff? And how should I measure my bluffing success? Speaking of measurement, number 7 is poker tracking. I need to learn how to track my hands and winnings over time. Things like hand trackers, heads-up displays, and what the different statistics mean. I need to learn how to find the leaks in my game and how to find my strengths. Where am I doing better than maybe a typical fish might be doing? I need to learn poker math at number 8. How do I figure out quickly what the expected value of a play might be? What are pot odds, and how do I calculate those? How do I calculate my equity? This is, of course, highly correlated with expected value. Number 9, and this kind of touches on everything, but I need to learn about poker theory. There's something out there called Game Theory Optimal, or GTO poker. What is that? I have no idea what it really means. On the other hand, there's exploitative poker, which, if you know anything about statistics, is the Bayesian to the frequentist of GTO. Perhaps that's a bad metaphor, but that's how I view it. And then number 10, and this is by no means a completely exhaustive list, but tournament versus cash game play. How is playing a tournament different from playing cash games? And speaking about tournaments versus cash games, part of this channel is going to be exploring other areas of poker. Although the primary element of this Fish to Fortune challenge is to move up in the cash game stakes, by no means am I limited to just playing cash games. There are many different game modes that have been developed for online poker, and I intend to explore more of them. Sit and goes, for example, are something I've yet to try and seem like a great way to mix things up. This is both good and bad, as sometimes a little variety is going to be needed to avoid burnout, but also too much variety can lead to a lack of focus and can slow down the progress on my primary goal. I also intend to try some multi-table tournaments, and perhaps even some bounty modes. But most importantly, all tournament entries must come out of my cash game winnings. So to come clean, you're not joining me at the very beginning. As I was putting together my thoughts for this challenge and deciding whether I liked poker enough to try it, I've played a couple hundred hands. I've been on a good run. I started with a $50 bankroll, and I'm up to 65 now. When I get to 80, I can move up in stakes for the first time in this challenge. I'm looking forward to sharing the first session recording with my contemporaneous thoughts and explanations in the next video. See you then.